Good evening. This is Just Be Well, the channel about whole life wellness. I'm Tom Salt, a medical doctor and functional medicine practitioner.
I'm Elizabeth, a registered nurse and whole life coach.
And is it humid enough?
It is humid. Look at my hair.
Yeah.
I had to pull it back.
Yeah, I look like I've been running. I've just been sitting here. Anyway, so we're going to talk about, energy medicine. And a lot of people wonder what on earth is energy medicine, but it ranges everywhere from, pacemakers, for a mainstream example, or MRIs, where they can see structures using radio waves and magnetism, all the way to acupuncture and Reiki and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to talk about some stuff that we do. But basically, energy medicine is about harmonizing the energy body. So whether it's Ayurvedic medicine from India or acupuncture type medicine from traditional Chinese medicine or Japanese medicine or French auricular medicine, which is acupuncture of the ear, it's all about harmonizing the energy body. So we live on Earth, right? And Earth, about 60 miles straight up, there's something called the ionosphere. The ionosphere is created by the thinning atmosphere way up there being bombarded by solar radiation, and it ionizes the gases in that region. So there's this ionosphere 60 miles up. It's thicker on the sunny side, and it's less thick on the dark side. So as the Earth spins, it's constantly doing this kind of a thing. And in addition, there are lightning strikes between the ionosphere and the Earth, about 50 of them per second around the world, actually, on average. And that creates something called the Schumann resonance, which is, oddly enough, just about the same as your alpha waves of your brain. And that's been studied extensively, and there's some evidence out of Japan, some pretty good evidence out of Japan, that the variations in the Schumann resonance, they looked at 2 standard deviations away from the average of the Schumann resonance, and on days when the Schumann resonance was at a low, people's blood pressure was higher. And on days when it was at a maximum or average or maximum, it was lower. And hi, Yolanda and Carol.
Yolanda. Hi, Carol.
So the Schumann resonance that we live in, we're bathed in this this electromagnetic field, right, all the time. And then there are many other natural electromagnetic fields, and then there are other not natural electromagnetic fields. I don't like the. So I was looking for my cell phone in my pocket. It's right in front of me. We're shooting on my cell phone right now. So there's an example of a not natural electromagnetic field, and some people are afraid that cell phones are going to kill you by Thursday or something. I don't share that, obviously. I'm using a cell phone right now. But I do think that we lose harmony with the earth by not grounding ourselves. I'm a big believer in earthing, walking around in dewy grass or walking around on the shore of a lake. And then things have frequencies. So that kind of leads into you talking maybe a little bit about the kind of energy medicine you do with oils and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so as you were talking about the earthing and, just being in the grass to kind of ground yourself, because we are surrounded by varying types of energy all day, electromagnetic fields from just natural things and then unnatural things like our cell phones and our computers. And I'm a person who I've known for quite some time now that I am very sensitive to those things. And if I am on my computer all day by, the end of like 5-6 hours,
Like right now?
I'm a space cadet. Yeah, I'm just a space cadet. It wipes me out in many ways. And it does deplete my energy as well. And I think yesterday I was on the computer for a prolonged period of time, and it doesn't take long before I, just confused and not really confused, but it's like I just can't keep my attention
Feeling
on
a little
anything.
dazed, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And so that brings me to things that I can do to kind of center myself and, reground myself. And one of those things is just being outdoors. I find it extremely helpful to just go for a walk. Right before this live here, we went for a walk. Just because just getting home from work and trying to kind of center ourselves before we get on to speak with you guys.
And all of the horseflies were just centering her so beautifully.
I was quite angry at those horseflies. I didn't have my hair up, and I didn't bring a ponytail holder with, so where they land is right next to the scalp, and then they're buzzing in my hair and moving it like they're gonna fly me away, and it was really, really trying my patience. So by the time I got back here, I was feeling more frustrated than when I left. So I almost didn't come on today. I didn't. I had a really hard day, and by the time I got home, I did those few practices to try to just elevate my energy and maybe ground me a little bit more. And at the last minute, right before I was going to tell him that I wasn't doing it, I got out my essential oils. And I bathed myself in a few of the ones that are higher frequencies. And then, of course, in here I put my rose oil, because that is the highest frequency oil that you can get. And then to me, I just think it smells so wonderful.
Let me smell that stuff.
If you can smell it in between all the other ones I have on right now. I have like
I can verify it smells wonderful.
Yeah.
As does she, by the way.
Yeah. So, and it's amazing. Just the smells and the different, I'm careful with the words I use because it's, I think if you get too, what's the word I'm looking for, like floofa? Is that a real word?
Woo-woo.
You lose some people, so I'm trying to be very selective with my words here, but there is a vibration to these essential oils. They come from plants. And it's amazing. I felt just kind of everything melt away, and all of a sudden I felt my brain did feel clearer and more alert, and some of that heaviness and sadness I've been carrying all day, I felt like it evaporated for a moment. So, there's a lot of, I have a wellness boutique uptown here, and some of the things we do are the energy medicine or energy body work. Don't use the word medicine. Energy body work with essential oils.
Energy wellness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it all goes into just being in a sacred space and putting forth that positive intention in what you want to get out of the session, and then hand selecting a handful, half a dozen or so of essential oils that just create the experience. And I use light touch over various parts of the body, and people, when they leave, they just feel amazing, like just lighter, and like the stress is gone, and it doesn't last forever, but it's a very relaxed environment. And I know I'm going to have to get my essential oils out again, but like right now, just using the essential oils, and I didn't even go into any of the auricular or the different type of things that I normally do. But
she does her, I've experienced this. Mm-hmm. I was like gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, not sleeping, just gone, like on some trip somewhere. And she's doing, with essential oils, she's doing sort of stimulating reflex points on the feet, reflex points on the hands, and reflex auricular acupuncture points on the ears, and then some stuff on the crown of the head and the back, along back shoe points, I guess, on the the acupuncture back shoe points. And it just, it was like a deep meditation. It was really beautiful. So that's the kind of thing that happens, and it's pretty amazing. You won't lose you. I love essential oils. Yeah.
I thought of you, Yolanda, as I was saying that. I was like, well, I know Yolanda's going to get it, but
yeah. So that's a form of energy medicine where she's using this really eclectic combination of French auricular acupuncture and foot reflexology, hand reflexology, acupuncture, back shu points. It's just really inclusive and beautiful, and meditation gone wild. I mean, like I said, I was gone. It was really beautiful. And now we're also doing something that I'm calling frequency specific energy wellness. Now a lot of people call it energy medicine or energy healing, and we're not calling it that because, frankly, the FDA owns those words, and we're not trying to diagnose or treat any illness with these therapies. We do, obviously, I'm a medical doctor. I treat people with illness all the time, but for these therapies, because of the regulations in the United States, you can't call them medicine, but they're certainly wellness. And so one of the things that we can do is we basically can transmit frequencies that cause an entrainment. So as an example, this isn't what I'm talking about, but just to give you an idea, there are what are called light and sound devices. You wear earphones and goggles, and they blink in your eyes, and they make noises in your ears, and they entrain your brain waves, or electrical stimulation devices that entrain your brain waves. There's one called a FlexStim, I believe it's called FlexStim. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, it's an FDA cleared device, and you put little electrodes on your earlobes, and it actually increases your alpha waves. And a study done by the British Health Service in England, whatever it's called, British Health Service, something like that, Public Health Service, showed that it was basically as effective as cognitive behavioral therapy. So it worked really, really well. So what we're doing is a number of things. One, we can entrain, so there are specific frequencies for the chakras as an example. This is an Ayurvedic medicine concept, and we can transmit those frequencies and help entrain those chakras to be stronger. And then there are other things we can do. There's a specific frequency for your liver and your thymus and all these things, and we can entrain those to be stronger so that they can detox better, or do whatever the function of the organ is. And then there's the ability to do what's called a biofeedback challenge. So basically what you do is I always use the word interrogate, but it's really not quite like a bright light in your face and mean cops. It's just laying quietly, and we sweep frequencies through your body, and when, in the case of our device, if the current or the phase angle between the current and the voltage changes, it tells us that there's an issue there. So we store that frequency, and then when the whole thing's over, we give you those frequencies. And by doing that, we can actually sweep, treat, until there's nothing left to treat. And that has been very helpful for people with a number of medical problems, but it just is reinforcing the body's ability to be well, which means that your immune system works well and your detoxification system works well, and so on and so forth. And going back to Rife and a similar kind of technology, he was able to show, and a guy by the name of Anthony Holland more recently is able to show that these kinds of frequencies can have effects on bacteria, effects on cancer cells, and all kinds of things. So it's really quite interesting. 1990, I was going to say recently, but I guess recently from my perspective, back in 1990, a Nobel laureate, French guy whose name I can't remember right now, published a paper that showed that there was an electromagnetic signature specific to bacteria, and he's actually using it in his company to try to create a diagnostic device so that you can just put a sample of blood in this coil and it'll figure out what bacteria are in there. But basically that's telling us that you can detect, and these bugs are producing these electromagnetic signatures. So this energy medicine is just another layer, right? It's another layer of functional medicine. We've got that emotional, mental, emotional, spiritual domain in the center, and this this idea of the energy body kind of fits in there. So we're managing everything from, or trying to manage everything from the social interactions and this body electric, as there's a great book called The Body Electric by a guy named Dr. Becker, Robert Becker. Everything from that all the way down to the biochemistry and the diet and lifestyle and everything. So we're trying to we call it whole life wellness because we're trying to intervene in every place that needs intervention. Unfortunately, many people get really stuck on one little piece of overall wellness. They want to exercise themselves to death, or they'll only juice, or they'll be vegan, or they'll be only meat eaters, or they'll be just one thing. But really, we need to look at all domains of health, and this body electric, this energy body, is something that I think is largely ignored by most healing systems. So this is another really exciting thing that we're doing, and we have sort of several levels at which you can participate in a program like that. Yeah. So,
I'll read some of these.
Okay.
My hands are kind of wet from my cup. Yolanda, reflexology and energy work are amazing. If you haven't tried it, you must.
Yep.
I agree. Yeah.
And when you add that dimension of oils, I just find that it immerses you, right? Those aromas immerse you in the experience, and it's just so powerful.
Carol, no worries. Laura and I get into this too. Is that what you do, like rainbow therapy? Oh, I like that name, rainbow therapy.
Yeah, there's something called raindrop therapy that is something like, it's not quite as, I would say less sophisticated than what you do by a long shot.
Yeah, I just incorporate different techniques and modalities from
Elizabeth is extremely intuitive, and I would say that you do an intuition-driven energy process, where just by sort of being in the presence of the person, she figures out which oils to use, and conversation and presence, and then moves forward from there. And it's rainbow therapy, kind of an interesting name. Don't know about that.
Yolanda, is that like Reiki with electrical frequencies? I think she was talking
to me. So Reiki is, hands, right? And there's actually, I saw an interesting paper. There's a kilohertz field around us, and Reiki masters distort that field with their hands. And so it's similar in that it's energy, but we're using electronic devices that are run by computer to generate these frequencies, and then we transmit these frequencies to you through a receiver. So it's just a technological way to do Reiki kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. And what else do we say here? Jackie, hi.
Hi, Jackie.
Oh, yes, Raindrop. Well, I like your name better, actually.
I like the rainbow. I thought that was it is, rainbow kind of with different chakras, and rainbow's kind of at the end of a storm.
So there's all kinds of interesting studies, and of course, this kind of work doesn't get funded by the National Institute of Health or anything like that. So there's small studies by people who are interested in this stuff. This Nobel laureate I was talking about, he actually resigned his position at a major university in Europe someplace, and he went to China because they have colleges of traditional Chinese medicine, and they were much more open to the research he was doing. And of course, so now, the mainstream researchers are saying, well, that's just hocus pocus, and, he went to China and he's just gone crazy or whatever. But this stuff in Japan that I was talking about, how when the Schumann resonance is at a peak, at average or peak, compared to below average, blood pressure is improved. There's evidence that solar Flares, which thicken the ionosphere, are associated with psychological phenomenon. So there's more and more evidence that these subtle energetic fields that we live in are significantly influencing our health. And it shouldn't be surprising, right? We have co-evolved since the beginning of life on Earth with this magnetic field we live in and these electromagnetic fields we live in. And the fact that we have more and more electromagnetic smog, if you will, I think is very significant. And, it's not unlike the recent discoveries, again, in Japan. They're much more interested in this stuff than we are. But like we talked about forest bathing a few weeks ago, and it is the essential oils which actually carry pheromones. And I used to say, how on earth could rubbing a little essential oil on your foot make your cold better? Well, it turns out that carries a pheromone which is directly speaking to your immune system and improves your natural killer cells, just like that. And that's how it does it, because not everything is biochemical. Some things are olfactory, some things are electromagnetic, and so on and so forth. And
right, how can rubbing essential oils on your body elevate your mood?
right, but it obviously did in about 19 seconds for you.
It did.
Yeah, I mean, you were kind of wrecked. And now, I mean, you just look like a different human being. You just look great, by the way.
Thank you.
This area of wellness, I think, it's just another layer. I don't want to say it's, some giant panacea. It's not, but it's another layer. And, you have to continue to go to new layers when you're stuck. And so the reason why I got into functional medicine in the first place is, I went to acupuncture school, got into med school, saw what medicine can do, and it was amazing. But then I started having, in med school you see super sick people at end-stage disease who are in the ICU and on the floor and, really sick, end-stage stuff. But in clinic, you don't see that so much. You see people who just are among the walking wounded, and, they don't necessarily, everybody doesn't fit nice and neat into the diagnosis. And so if you're open-minded, you start to think, well, gosh, we did that test and it was normal. How many times have you gone to the doctor feeling totally crappy and they do a chemistry panel and a CBC and they say, gee, nothing wrong, see you next year? Well, that didn't help, right? So you got to start looking around. And I got to functional medicine because it just spoke to me so deeply, because my undergraduate degrees in chemistry and biochemistry, and my, obviously in medical school you learn a ton about pharmacology and biochemistry, and so it made sense. And I have a bunch of training in genetics as well, and this idea of your genetic potential being washed over by the environment made perfect sense. But that didn't do it either. So, we do acupuncture, we do the biochemical nutrition stuff, and now this energy stuff as well. And it's just another layer.
The whole.
Yeah, again, whole life, right? We are all of it, and more than the sum of the parts. It's synergistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as an example, I have a patient some time ago who had significant nausea from chemotherapy. And I would treat her with frequency-specific energy heat wellness, and her nausea would go away. And it would be like the difference between I'm going to get in my sprinter blocks and be ready to sprint to the bathroom versus I can go out and interact with my family and have a nice evening. So it was pretty dramatic for her. And she was on the big doses of the prescription anti-nausea medicines, so it's not like she was doing this instead of the medicine. She was on full go medicines and still feeling crappy, and we added the energy medicine and she really felt good. We also we put this is a point for nausea, so she had bracelets on that were stimulating these points. She was on full dose medicine and still feeling crummy, and we added the frequency specific stuff, and better. And, unfortunately didn't cure her cancer, but gave her a much higher quality of life for her long goodbye. So it can be very significant. And what is, whole life is the best life. Yeah, it really is. We came up with that because, again, people want to be well, but they want to take a pill. Well, you're eating 3 or 4 pounds of food every day, and if that food is giving you negative messages because it's junk food, which, by the way, there's only food and junk, there's no junk food, but if you're eating junk, then those few pills you take are not going to counteract that. You got to eat well and think well and be actively well and so on, and it's everything, and it's all of it that adds up. And the piece that I think is the most challenging for me personally is the social integration part. Well, not the social integration. I'm pretty good at that. I like to look people in the eye and say hello, good morning, and open the door for them and say hello. It's really those few close friends. I have many good close friends, but they're not nearby, And I think a lot of us are in that boat. We have many close friends, but they're not necessarily nearby. So especially in this time of COVID, we become progressively isolated. And so I think that's particularly at this time, a great time when we can, I like to think of this entrainment as like whacking a bell, wah, and that can make, you can feel a bell, a big bell particularly, you can feel it vibrating, or if you're in a concert and you feel that energy in your resonant cavity of your chest. If we can charge up those energy centers in your body, it just gives you more capacity to manage life, the ups and the downs and the sideways. So, did you want to talk about that spiritual soak thing?
Oh, the bath?
Yeah, yeah. Just to leave it on maybe something you can do very simply at home. Yeah.
It's just simply a bath with Epsom salts and a few select essential oils.
Yeah, it could even be a candle that you burn that is just smells nice, and you just sort of...
Or an unscented candle. And
some flickering light from even an electric candle. But a few oils in the bath that just sort of envelop you in this olfactory, that means smell experience, and maybe a little bit of light, flickering light in a dimmed room. And
you could use a lavender oil is great. Rose oil would also be a great choice, and use them together.
Our good friend Himla makes, she calls them chakra sprays. There's like 17 of them, and I just bought them all. Can't wait for them to get here. But we've been on meditation retreats, and you're meditating, and then one of the meditation facilitators will just walk around the room and just spray this stuff over you, and it's like this cloud of beauty just envelops you, and it just takes you to another level of meditation. It's so beautiful. So it really goes back in many ways to your sensory integration kit.
That's where I grabbed my rose oil from today.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I saw you open that.
Took a few lingering glances at the rest of the stuff in it before I started.
Why don't you just remind everybody about your kit?
So it just has a select item that stimulates each of my senses, and it stimulates them in a way to it brings me, like the rose oil is a beautiful smell. It's an oil of high vibration, and it just brings me to a peaceful place. And then I have a mirror in there, and that's my sight thing, just to kind of look myself in the face. And sometimes you have to look yourself in the face, or sometimes you just need to look yourself in the face and be accepting,
compassion.
Yeah, accepting and loving and compassionate to yourself as well, in whatever you're feeling or going through. And then I have a couple different rocks that are for the feeling, and then also there are words written on them.
Which came from really beautiful retreats you went on.
Yep, they came from 2 separate retreats that I went on. And then music. So.
Yeah. So I think that, standing in some wet grass, or even if you just have to turn the hose on for a second and get the ground a little bit wet, and pulling out a kit like that with all that sensory and memory associated with it, because your autonomic nervous system can't tell the difference between the real thing and a memory. And if you're holding onto a rock that's very special to you because it was given to you by somebody, or you chose it while you were at a retreat to remember that retreat, that memory is real, and it affects our bodies in the same way as actually being there. So grounding yourself to the earth. By the way, talking about this potential energy and this ionosphere and all that stuff, the voltage difference between the top of a 6 foot tall person's head and their feet is 400 volts. So this is no joke. Now, the current is extremely small. You're not going to get electrocuted by touching the top of your head or anything, but this is real, and it's measurable. This is not hocus pocus. Now, people will say that it doesn't matter physiologically, but I guess I disagree, and many of us in this field disagree. But this is real, and being grounded. There's plenty of little things on YouTube about people with a very sensitive voltmeter, and they're not touching the ground, and there's a potential there, and they touch the ground, and the potential goes away. And really, when you think about it, you take an antioxidant. Everybody's willing to take vitamin C. Well, vitamin C is basically an electron sink. It means it's absorbing extra electrons. Well, putting your foot on the earth is allowing electrons to flow out of your body. So it's just another powerful antioxidant. So anyway, I think that's enough on energy medicine for tonight. Maybe we'll go into more detail about the frequency-specific stuff that we do next time, which will be, when? Thursday?
Thursday at noon.
Thursday at noon. So you heard it here first, Thursday at noon. We were going to do yesterday, and both of us at about 8:30 said, aren't we supposed to do a live? The sun is up so late here in northern Minnesota that it's hard to remember it's 7 p.m. It looks like it's about noon at 7 p.m. So anyway, we'll see you at noon on Thursday.
Thursday. Yep.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.